Good morning and welcome to the December 13th, 2017 Board of County Commissioners meeting. I'm Kate Flavin, Public Information Officer with Sedgwick County. On the agenda this morning, we'll celebrate 5 retirements. Commissioners will consider a resolution with the City of Wichita and Spirit AEROSYSTEMs. Commissioners will also receive an update from the Kansas African American Museum and Exploration Place. Then they'll consider increasing fees for service for Planning Department. And then finally, something we've been looking forward to all year, the Road and Bridge Show from Public Works. And I'd like to remind everyone that the 23rd Annual Battle of the Badges began this week and will run through the end of the year. Everyone can go to the American Red Cross here on North Main, donate blood, and vote for their favorite sponsoring agency, EMS, fire, or law enforcement. Last year, EMS took first place, so we'll see if they can do it again this year. Results will be announced in January. And then one final reminder before I hand the meeting over to the chairman. As you know, several offices are relocating to the Ronald Reagan building on West 3rd. The appraiser's office moved in a few weeks ago. The Division on Aging opened their new office space this week. Next week, ComCare Administration and Records will be closed and will move into their new building and open on Friday, December 22nd. So with that, I will hand the meeting over to you, Chairman.
All right, thank you, Kate. And if anyone has some confusion about those opening and closings, they can just call the office and we'll provide the answer.
Absolutely, or you can follow us on social media. We have those updates on our pages there.
All right, very good. Thank you, Kate. Well, we want to welcome everyone who's in our meeting today. We appreciate your interest in county business and especially want to welcome former Commissioner Jim Skelton. Thank you for being here. At this time, then, I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners, December 13th, 2017. Madam Clerk, first item.
Invocation to be led by Rabbi Judah Kogan, Hebrew Congregation. Please remain standing for the flag salute.
Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu, our God and God of our ancestors. On this first day of Hanukkah, we are mindful that the holiday season is about much more than giving and receiving gifts. We embrace your mandate to perfect the world in your kingdom and to help all your creations live better lives. Guide us by your light. Give us the courage of the Maccabees and the spirit of your prophets to foster brotherhood and peace in this season of peace throughout the year and for all the days of our lives. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be your will. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rabbi, thank you for being here this morning. And happy Hanukkah.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next item.
Roll call. Commissioner Dennis.
Present.
Commissioner Ranzaw.
Present.
Commissioner Howell.
Present.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Present.
Chairman Unruh.
Present. And next item.
Public agenda.
Commissioners, we've had 2 individuals sign up to speak on the public agenda, so we will take time to do that. Both of these indicate they want to speak about Tyson, so I'm assuming that their remarks might be brief this morning. But first is Mary Moore. So if you would state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Mary Moore. I live at 1654 Hood in Wichita. Good morning, commissioners and county administration personnel. I come before you today to respectfully present original notarized copies of a protest petition addressed to the commissioners expressing strong sentiments of the Sedgwick County residents who, by virtue of their signatures, registered their opposition to the establishment of a Tyson poultry slaughter complex within the boundaries of Sedgwick County. Many individuals, most notably in the Clearwater area, worked tirelessly and in good faith to procure signatures of fellow citizens who share their position one which reflects specific objections on the basis of issues related to environmental pollution, water resource depletion, property devaluation, disease and pathogen contamination, sewage waste disposition, infrastructure strains, labor injustices, including exploitation of contractors and plant employees, and egregious animal cruelty. Tyson's notorious history speaks for itself. We believe their presence would diminish quality of life in our communities, not enhance it. Moreover, the petition serves to reinforce and affirm the recent outcome of county deliberations, finding insufficient support for incentivization. The combination of feasibility analyses, intense public resistance, and the timely emergence of more appropriate economic development opportunities. The originals of the petition, which I have here, and they represent 1,102 signatures. We would have liked more, but our boots on the ground were such that this is what we were able to obtain. And I think it's fair to conservatively extrapolate that for every signature here, there were probably 2 or 3 other people who might have signed as well. But that's conjecture. The originals of the petition will be submitted to the office of the county clerk per protocol to be placed on the record, entered in the journal as part of archived Sedgwick County proceedings on this matter. Thank you for your time and courteous attention.
Thank you. And next speaker is Marilyn Bauer.
Good morning. Morning. My name is Marilyn Bauer. I live at 156 North Sedgwick. And I have spoken to you several other times about doing some research before you just present something that is pretty much decided upon. I think that just the veriest one day I found out how much water the Wichita Water District uses in a day. It fluctuates, but it's considerable, and we can do it. But then I talked to some city council members at Clearwater, and one lady on the council said, "We do not have the water. We don't have the water." She said some of our wells are going dry already. And I know, because one of my good friends lives next to the Nenasko River, that it's basically a river that is in flood or is pretty much non-existent. You wouldn't get your feet very wet. You're walking there. And that is just across the river from where they were thinking about putting the compound. Then I checked with the persons in charge of the water in Hayesville. And I didn't know this, but there is south of Hayesville, there are some 2,000 to 3,000 foot deep waste wells from the chemical plant. I do know that several people that lived close to the chemical plant had to move. Their wells were compromised. And the very latest thing I found out, after they said they were not coming to Sedgwick County, Tyson, is that about 50 people and their houses, their wells are compromised from a dry cleaning plant that did not properly dispose of their water, of their waste. And that was just done in a few hours. And that meant driving out and driving back. Also, I was going the next day to Overland Park, and on the way is a little town called Lebo. And one of my cousins is married to, he's an engineer, and I think he's in the upper management in Tyson. And I told him what the lady told me. She said, we are very, very mad. We are very, very organized, and we don't. We'll fight them to the last, the very last. And so, I was told that, oh, well, they probably wouldn't have room for the lagoons. Later, I talked to a man who had lived in western Arkansas, and he said, no, the plants, they don't make that much smell. And I did tell you that that's the way the wind comes. And then I mentioned lagoons.
Can you wrap it up?
Yes. Then I mentioned the lagoons, and he said, oh, no, lagoons. So the next, I think we made a good choice, and I think we need to stick by it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any persons who did not sign up that want to speak on this time? You can speak on any item that you desire. I don't see anyone rising to speak, so Madam Clerk, we will call the next item.
New business. Item A, presentation of retirement certificates and gifts.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Eileen McNichol, your Chief HR Officer, and it's my honor this morning to present to you 5 Sedgwick County employees who have reached a major milestone in their employment, their retirement. Those employees are Mary Nally, Wayne Ruffner, Lynn Denning, Lee Chambers, and Greg Tuxhorn. If you would, when I call your name, please come up. The chairman would like to congratulate you, provide you with your certificate. We'll take your picture, and then if you'd like, you can address the board. We'll start with Mary Nally. Mary is a Deputy County Clerk 1 with the Clerk's Office, and she's going to retire on December 29th, 2017, with 20 years of service. Mary hired on October 27th, 1997, as an office specialist. She was promoted to Administrative Specialist on August 27th, 2001, and was then promoted to Deputy County Clerk 1 on September 23rd, 2013. In the past 20 years with the County Clerk's Office, she has seen and been involved with a lot of changes in their office procedures, as well as all the technology changes over the year. When she started here in 1997, they had great big dinosaurs for computers and very little software to work with. Everything was mostly on paper, including counting their money drawer daily. So much has changed for the better now. Congratulations, Mary. We wish you the very best.
And you don't want to make a speech?
No.
Okay. Stand up here.
Wayne Ruffner, Sheriff Sergeant with the Sheriff's Office, will retire on December 23, 2017, with 26 years of service. Wayne hired on January 14, 1991 as a Traffic Safety Officer, Deputy Sheriff, and promoted to Sheriff Sergeant on May 2, 2005. Wayne was originally from Michigan and was in the Air Force stationed at McConnell. He was a reserve deputy sheriff while in the Air Force before getting hired full-time with the Sheriff's Office. He loves to travel, which is what his plans are at retirement. Enjoy your travels, and congratulations, Wayne.
Wayne, congratulations.
Well, thank you, Commissioners. I really appreciate it, and it's been an absolute honor and privilege to serve on the Sheriff's Office and to serve the citizens of Sedgwick County. A lot of people don't get that chance. I did, and I'm grateful. Thank you. Sure, you bet.
Lynn Denning, Lieutenant with the Sheriff's Office, will retire on December 23, 2017, with 27 years of service. Lynn hired on on July 16, 1990 as a deputy sheriff. He was promoted to detective on March 18, 1995, promoted to forensic investigator on February 18, 1996, promoted to sheriff sergeant on February 27, 2000, and promoted to sheriff's lieutenant on July 8, 2007. Lynn started with the Sheriff's Academy 27 and a half years ago, and as I read, has served in every commissioned division of the Sheriff's Office. Over the past 3 decades, he's visited 17 countries on 5 continents for military purposes, mission work, or just for fun. He plans on expanding that list in retirement. We wish you happy travels as you add to your country count in your retirement. Congratulations, Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners, assembled staff. I appreciate this recognition. And I want to say that I've been honored to be able to work with some of the most professional law enforcement and emergency services and criminal justice professionals that I have ever met, and I think that you will ever meet anywhere in the world. But you know, we in emergency services get a lot of glory when it comes to a crisis situation. But I think every county employee will admit that every couple of weeks the most important employees in this county are Meredith and Donna up in payroll. And I think every county employee dreams of the day that they get to go talk to Connie about retirement. That's right. So again, I thank you for this recognition. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention to the county manager, I have to recognize the positive and professional working relationship most recently I've had with your staff and your communications folks, working with them and the local news media to get information out to the public, the citizens that we serve through the media, and I've enjoyed that. It's been an honor to do that. Thank you.
Good.
Lee Chambers, crew leader with EMS, will retire on December 23, 2017, with 28 years of service. Lee, first hired as a temporary EMT June 12, 1988, became full-time on July 5, 1989. He received his MICT certification on January 24, 1990, promoted to EMS lieutenant on November 17, 1994, and became a crew leader on January 13, 2013. Lee has 5 degrees, including a bachelor's in music performance for trumpet and a master of music in church music. He's an avid cyclist riding from coast to coast. Lee recently completed Boston to Washington, D.C. with the National EMS Memorial Bike Ride and was elected to the organization's board of directors. Lee is a former member of the U.S. Figure Skating and U.S. Figure Skating Governing Council, Wichita Figure Skating Club, in several board positions before his children both retired from competing nationally, in the single ladies for his daughter and ice dance for his son. He's currently working as an emergency department RN for Via Christi. Congratulations on your retirement from Sedgwick County, Lee. It sounds like you'll be very busy in your retirement, too.
This is going to be hard to believe, a few words. I'd like to thank the County Commission and the administration. This has been 28, 29 fruitful years. There have all been bumps, but there have been some high points. I'll continue to work for the department in a retirement status with the Honor Guard and keep our name amongst the national levels with the memorial service and the bike ride. So I thank you and have a good holiday.
Musician and an athlete, servant.
Greg Stuckhorn Greg Tuxhorn, Facility Manager at Maintenance Services, will retire on December 25th, 2017, with 32 years of service. Greg hired on October 16, 1985, as a building maintenance worker at Central Services. He worked various positions and then a mechanical systems engineer, maintenance coordinator, and senior trade specialist, building service manager, and was promoted to his current position on December 2, 2012. Greg's been married to his wonderfully supportive wife, Sharon, for 26 years, and they have 5 children. His daughter, Emily Davis, and husband, Andrew, are both detention deputies. Emily is a Butler County Sheriff Detention Deputy, and Andrew is a Sedgwick County Sheriff Detention Deputy. His son, Eric, is a corporal in the United States Marine Corps, and Eric's wife, Sarah, is attending Miramar University in California. Greg's daughter, Stacy, is in her junior year at KSU, working towards her social work degree. Stacy is also a member of the KSU marching band. His son, Brian, is a private first class with the United States Marine Corps, and his youngest son, Jason, is a Clearwater Middle School student. Greg plans to take some time off to spend working on hobbies, traveling, and planning the next chapter in his life. Congratulations, Greg. Best wishes to you in your next chapter.
You're good? I know you're good, but we're just go to the front.
On behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, the County Manager and his executive team, and all of your fellow employees, I want to thank you all for your decades of service and dedication to the citizens of Sedgwick County. Congratulations to you all.
Well, we had a lot of folks here to celebrate with them, didn't we? So, all right, I think we're ready to call the next item.
Item B, resolution authorizing the execution of a memorandum of understanding with the City of Wichita and Spirit AeroSystems Incorporated relating to Project ECLIPSE.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brent Shelton with the Division of Finance. And I'm here today because, as you know, last week Spirit AeroSystems made a major announcement that they were making a significant capital investment in the Wichita area and bringing 1,000 net new jobs to our local economy. We're pleased to have representatives from Spirit with us today. Debbie Gann and Sam Sackett are in the audience. And because of that announcement, we have before you today Project ECLIPSE and a resolution and a memorandum of understanding between Spirit, Sedgwick County, and the City of Wichita for a public-private partnership that will facilitate this expansion and these new jobs. Now, as good as that news is, when we go into these types of economic development activities, we have county and city policies that we need to consider as we look at whether or not this deal makes sense. And some of the highlights of this deal are that, pursuant to policy, we'll look at the type of business activity, and manufacturing jobs are at the top of that list. That's what they're providing or bringing to the area. Value-added jobs are jobs that create products that are sold outside of our economy. They're not trading jobs within the local area, but they're exporting goods and importing wealth. The average wages for the jobs that were announced are $56,000 base salary per year. That far exceeds the threshold that we have for wage and salary criteria for jobs even without benefits, and these are jobs with a full slate of benefits, and in fact are about 125% higher than the average wages in our area. The Center for Economic Development and Business Research at Wichita State University did a return on investment analysis for this project. And we have a threshold of 1.3 to 1 return on that, and the benefit to cost ratio was determined to be in excess of 4 to 1 for this project. And not only that, but there are some intangibles to consider. One is that since Spirit came to the area in 2005, they had a footprint of 7,300 employees. Today, that's approaching 11,000, 10,940 employees at Spirit. They don't just work here, but I'm told that over the last year, the company and those employees have contributed in excess of $4 million in charitable giving to to nonprofits and other organizations in the area. So not only are they a good employer, but we consider them a good corporate citizen. Spirit came to the city and the county because they had a backlog of work. They were under some cost pressures and so forth to deliver this work efficiently and effectively, and to facilitate this new backlog, or this backlog of work, they needed some new facilities. Was Wichita, in this area, the best place to build those new facilities and facilitate that growth? And just as Spirit is a company that's competing in the global economy, Sedgwick County and Wichita are competing also with other jurisdictions to bring these types of jobs and this type of economic development activity to our region. We competed against 6 other sites for this work and for these jobs and growth. And as a result of that, we developed a public-private partnership between the city, the county, and Spirit that focused on jobs, a long-term commitment to the community, and some protections for local government in case these job commitments aren't met. So in short, everybody wins in the proposal that's being presented. So what is the deal that we're talking about today? Basically, Spirit, the city, and the county would form a 3-way partnership to create a new entity that would facilitate the construction of a new facility that's estimated to be in the $17 million range. This facility would be owned jointly by city, county, and Spirit in this new entity. The entity would apply for industrial revenue bonds so that the property would be eligible for property and sales tax exemptions. It would be leased to Spirit for 20 years at a nominal rate with an option for Spirit to purchase it, assuming these conditions are met, for job and wage performance at the end of that 20-year period. Now, just a couple of details. The county's contribution would be $7 million. City of Wichita would contribute $3 million, and Spirit would contribute the balance. So if the project comes in at $17 million, Spirit will contribute $7 million. If, however, it exceeds that, their contribution would be higher. They will make up the balance of the construction costs for that facility. So that everybody's on an equal footing, the City of Wichita has a Purple Pipe project, which provides non-potable water to Spirit at a reduced rate. It helps our water supply in the local area, but they're forgiving about $4.5 million of expenses related to that project, so that everybody's coming into this on roughly equal footing. Some of the protections that are provided for the county as well as the city are that the industrial revenue bonds that would then come with a property tax and a sales tax exemption, we do have a 5-year look back. So at the end of 5 years, if Spirit has not met the job requirements, the 1,000 average new jobs, there would be a ability for us to claw back taxes at the end of that 5-year period. For instance, the commitments for 1,000 jobs, if the average is 900, we could recover 10% of those abated property taxes. Same thing happens in the second 5-year period at the end of that 10 years. And then at the end of 15 years, if Spirit should leave the area, there's a clawback provision for all the property taxes have been abated. The building lease recovery clawback basically says that at the end of 20 years, we look at that average wage and job performance over that entire 20-year period, and if Spirit falls short, they would then, based on that percentage that they fell short of that $1,000 job commitment or the wage commitment, would then be looking to pay back the county a percentage of the city and the county's equity position. In other words, city and county are putting in $10 million into the building. Using the same scenario, Spirit's average jobs over the 20-year period are 900. They would owe back 10% of our equity contribution, or $1 million for the building, rather than just taking title to the building at the end of the process. If we look at the cost benefits to the county, as I stated earlier, it's a $7 million investment in a commercial building for which the county will have an equity stake. There will be property tax abatements for up to 10 years on this and other new buildings that might be constructed on the campus. In return for that, we get those 1,000 value-added jobs. That's about a $56 million additional payroll into our local economy at the time those jobs are filled. That additional real estate infrastructure that Spirit will be making at the end of those tax exemptions will go back on the tax roll, will broaden the tax base. With any type of economic activity like this, these types of jobs, there are additional spin-off jobs from suppliers, construction jobs, as well as restaurants and retail and things of that nature. And because that we work toward and receive a 20-year commitment, we help ensure this long-term relationship with Spirit in our community. So the next steps are that we would recommend that you approve the Memorandum of Understanding, that you adopt this resolution and authorize the required signatures. If you do that today, then we will move forward between the city, the county, and Spirit and work to draft all the necessary paperwork to make everything legal and move forward then. And then those documents, that formal deal will be brought back to you for formal approval. So at this time, I will either stand for questions or I'll relinquish the microphone if there are others that wish to speak to this item.
All right, thank you, Brent. That's a good presentation. Commissioners, we've had briefings on this and we've had this clear presentation. Are there questions or comments for Brent at this time? Commissioner Ranzol.
Yeah, Brent, you said the cash portion is $7 million. What's the value of the tax abatement?
The value of the tax abatement, it would depend on what the building was finally appraised at. To the county, we're probably looking at $100,000 a year. That's a real rough estimate, depending on what that building's appraised for, assuming the current mill levy. I would say $120,000 a year.
So
that's just the county's portion.
This number that's in the calculation is $3.6 million. Is that wrong, or?
What are you looking at for sure?
Well, the WSU analysis of the.
Okay, and I'm giving you the county's portion for the first year for one building. So that 3.6 may include additional buildings that they're looking at. It could also be the total tax abatement for other jurisdictions that are involved.
Well, it has the Wichita and state split out separately. So.
Okay.
And it talks about the sales tax of. Okay, well, at some point, I guess somebody can give me the.
We can do that.
Just to verify.
Sure.
Or whatever. Okay.
And I think we're working through those analysis, and as we get tighter numbers, those will always be provided.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner. Any other comment or question for Brent? I don't see anything at this time, but I'd like to see if there's anyone from the community, first of all, that would like to speak. Okay, Andrew, I don't see any other citizen asking to speak, and you've been involved in the project, Andrew, so please step to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Andrew Nave with the Greater Wichita Partnership, 501 East Douglas. I'll be very brief, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to commend you all's consideration of this opportunity and give our appreciation on behalf of the Greater Wichita Partnership to really work with Spirit and the city and the state, but especially your economic development team with Brent and Manager Scholes and Mr. Stoles on bringing together this, I think, very creative and innovative solution to an economic development project. Brent summarized it very well, so I won't belabor the points, but I would highlight two aspects of this project that I think are important to remember. Number one is the historic nature of this opportunity. The Greater Wichita Partnership and previously the GWEDC have been tracking economic development projects in Sedgwick County for many, many years, and this project and more than 1,000 new jobs would be the largest job creation project and one of the largest capital investment projects in over a decade in Sedgwick County. So it's a very unique opportunity from that standpoint. Also nationally, we think it's important to know how rare these opportunities are. So as an economic development organization, we subscribe to a database that tracks job creation projects around the country. So there's roughly 2,000 economic development organizations in the United States that submit data to this system for their economic development projects. And there's been roughly 1,300 job creation projects in America in 2017. And only 10 or 12 have been of this caliber, of this size, of 1,000 new jobs. That places this opportunity in this moment in the top 1% of economic development opportunities around the United States. So very rare opportunity, very historic opportunity, and obviously we're very excited to be a part of it, appreciate your consideration, and would strongly encourage your support of this MOU and this opportunity. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Andrew. I don't see anyone with a question, but it's important to emphasize the magnitude of this opportunity, so thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak? I see we have representatives here from Spirit. Debbie or Sam, either one of you want to make a statement?
Happy to stand for questions if you have any.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, Commissioner Howell.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to comment on this for a couple of reasons. Number one, this is in the middle of my district, and I think it's extremely important, not just to my district, but of course to the entire community. South Central Kansas, I mean, it goes all the way out to regional impact this is going to have, but it is in the middle of my district, and so I have that connection to Spirit, but I also have a different connection to Spirit. I've got many family members who've worked there. I actually have an aviation career that's touched several of the community aviation companies around town, but most recently I spent 11 years over at Boeing. And one thing I did notice when I was there was that after the sale to what became Spirit AeroSystems back in 2005, Boeing continued to bleed off jobs. Right after the sale, we had quite an operation going on here in Wichita, but I did notice a transition that happened over a number of years. And it got smaller and smaller and smaller. And one thing I've also noticed, again, I have a lot of friends, a lot of people I know in the community that are connected to aviation jobs. But one thing we've also known, I think everybody knows this, that the aviation community is a very cyclical nature. We see feast or famine. Either you're seeing reductions in jobs or you're seeing overtime. That's kind of the typical nature of aviation jobs. Spirit AeroSystems has kind of broke that mold. They're not like that. They are a global company with many diverse customers. And one thing I've noticed about Spirit is they are able to sustain the cyclical nature that we've seen by every other company in town. And with that, I just am extremely impressed with the company. And something I think that this MOU does for us today, which I think is extraordinary, but it forecasts jobs not just for the next, not just for 1,000 jobs, but really for their peak employment for the next 20 years. That is extraordinary. And if you start calculating, I don't know what the average wage is, I try to figure it out, I don't know, but we talked about $56,000 for these jobs. I would anticipate the average salary there is probably a bit higher than that. I don't know that for a fact, but just doing the simple math and then thinking about how the salary rolls around in this economy on the multiplication factor, this has an impact on our community, I'm going to say north of $50 billion over 20 years, easily. I don't know that for a fact, but just my doing simple math with my calculator, that's what I come up with. This is a tremendous promise to our community, and I am very impressed that we were able to actually have a conversation and secure these jobs, not just to secure these 1,000 jobs, but retain their peak employment for 20 years. That is extraordinary. I can tell you other communities, they are bullish, and they will come at jobs like this with incentives that we can't even imagine. And so I was reading what Washington State did for the Boeing Company about a while back. The number of billions of dollars of incentives that were offered is just staggering. But I actually have the article here. I could look it up. But it is amazing what other states will offer to secure jobs like this. And so our part in this, my opinion, number one, it's protected. It has very thoughtful language in there that protects the taxpayers. It's really not, in my opinion, anywhere near what I think other communities would love to offer for jobs like this. It's really, in my opinion, considering how much money is at stake here, a fairly small amount of money overall. It's to us, it's about $780 per job per year. I anticipate we'll probably, I'm going to guess, I anticipate probably 10 years worth of bonds to pay for this, but it could be longer. If it's $780 per job per year, that's for 10 years, and then we have another 10 years after that where these bonds would be paid off. So analyzing this, thinking about the job retention, the job creation, this to me is kind of a no-brainer to me. I really feel like this is a smart thing for us to do. And I've talked to lots of folks in the community that are conservative Republicans. They support this. I've not had anybody talk to me yet that tells me this is a bad idea. I think this is a smart thing for us to do. These are not just great jobs that will change lives forever, but these are great jobs that have a ripple effect across our community. And so I think that this is a great opportunity for us today, and I'm really proud to be a part of it. Some people out there might say, well, free market doesn't support incentives. Let me just get into that for just a second. I think that people who make those comments envision a government that would prohibit incentives so that communities can compete on a level playing field. That is big government, and I don't support that. I think that we would like to see small communities compete, put the red carpet out there and do what they can to attract those jobs. And I believe that actually is part of the free market. So again, as a conservative Republican, as a free market supporter, I think that this is exactly what we should be doing to secure these types of jobs, and this is smart policy for Sedgwick County. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would love to make a motion that we would approve this resolution and authorize the chairman to sign the memorandum of understanding.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Donnell?
I'll second that. I just wanted to publicly thank Spirit AeroSystems for this huge investment in our community. I've been in elected office for a number of years, and I have to say this is the most exciting and biggest development project that I've ever seen or been a part of. So Sam and Debbie and the rest of your team, thank you for me. Even Jim Lee's here. So you got the whole crowd, but thank you so much for continuing to invest, and please pass that on to your boss, Mr. Gentili, and everyone else. But it definitely is an exciting time for Wichita and Sedgwick County to be getting this type of investment. I think it's going to be transformational, and I'm just glad to be able to support this and help Spirit grow. And everybody in Sedgwick County benefits from Spirit AeroSystems being here, even if you don't work there or have family members that work there. You really drive this entire community, and you're just wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be proud to vote in favor of this resolution today. Having a return on investment of over 4 to 1, over 11,000 employees working out at Spirit, one of the top 1% of all economic development opportunities across the nation this year, I think is a great opportunity for Sedgwick County. Be proud to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, I would just make a comment that I think this is a great opportunity. We're really proud of our community partner and their decision that this area is a great place to stay and invest and continue to grow the business. I think the return on investment and the cost benefit and the safeguards for the public investment are all positive parts of this agreement. And from my perspective, it makes it easy for me to be supportive, especially with a great community partner that Spirit is. So I will be supportive also. Commissioner Renzo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to say I'm fully supportive of Spirit's decision to expand here, and I'm glad they made that decision. However, I do have some concerns about this particular incentive package here. First of all, I'm concerned that we made an announcement to do this before I even had any information, data, or evaluation, and we still don't know how we're going to pay for this. My biggest concern is really the cash portion. I thought we had gotten out of the cash incentive business because that was really making it more difficult for us to do what we needed to do as a county as far as providing services. And but this is $7 million is a lot of money to us. We don't know how we're going to pay for it, but I've been given one possibility that it would, for 10 years if we bonded it, it would cost us $790,000 a year in principal and interest. So the total cost is 7.9. I think it's important to remember we get a lot of requests for money. $790,000 a year makes an impact on our ability to provide services to our community. This will cause us to either have to reduce services, make some adjustments, or consider raising taxes. That all adds up. When you talk about raising taxes, people get antsy. When you talk about cutting services or controlling spending, people get antsy about that. So I would encourage the partnership to consider this as we go forward with other incentives. That I know all the numbers and everything. I just think this is not in the best interest on our financial for the county. I think this will. We have to do an honest analysis of how this will affect our ability to provide services. I think the project, this is not a deal breaker for the project. If you look at the amount of money that's being invested there, it'll go forward. We're entering into a partnership that, which we're going to own a building, create a new entity I don't think we've ever done before. We don't even know exactly how we're going to do that. So you have the property tax abatements and everything else. The cash is something that I have resisted in the past for a variety of incentives because it's just cash. Like I say, it's $780,000 a year for the next 10 years or more that we won't have to provide those services that no one else can do for us. So I'm probably going to be the lone no vote on this. I want you to understand why. I think it's only we can provide roads and bridges, EMS, fire, police. And this is important for us that we do that. I would, like I say, encourage the partnership to consider this as they move forward. It does have a significant impact. There again, I fully support the Spirit's decision to do this, but this is just problematic for me and exactly how everything's come out. You have the property tax abatements added into this, but the cash is really, really problematic. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I don't see anyone else asking to speak, but before we call a vote, I just want to express our appreciation for our business partners and community leaders to be here and express their support. The chambers here, the Greater Wichita Partnerships represented, folks from Boeing and the community are here to show support, and we really appreciate that. So with that comment, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Dennis?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau?
No.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Chairman Unruh.
Aye. Thank you all for being here. Next item, please.
Item C, the Kansas African American Museum 2017 update to the Board of County Commissioners.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I wanted to thank you for this opportunity to give you an update, what we've been up to at the Kansas African American Museum. Incidentally, I would have liked to have thanked Debbie Gann before she left. Spirit has been an important partner with us at the museum as well. But again, I wanted to thank you all for your important investment in the museum. We consider history the language of civics, that our knowledge of history makes us better citizens. I think we need that now more than ever. with that investment on any given day, you can come into the museum and you can learn about the Dot-Com sit-in, which was the first successful student-led sit-in anywhere in the country. You can learn about Don Hollowell, the attorney who got Martin Luther King out of Reidsville Prison, and who in Atlanta, Georgia, Martin Luther King's hometown, is known as Mr. Civil Rights. I mean, it's really hard to wrest that title away from Dr. King, but a Wichita native, in fact, did that. You can also come and see a $1 million collection that we've built over the last 40 years, which would be the envy of any African American museum or really any museum anywhere. But I wanted to talk about 3 things that we've been up to in the last year, and then I'll sit. Early this year, we had our first foray into what I call a community curator project. We raised $7,000 for a community project that was community run, community financed, and it was about President Obama's Kansas heritage. You may not be aware of this, but his mother was born just a few blocks away from here at St. Francis Hospital. The event that we had drew some of his relatives, his Kansas relatives from Tulsa, from Dallas. It drew hundreds of people. It was featured on KMUW and on NPR. And it will be traveling, and our traveling exhibits are another revenue stream for us. So it's going to be traveling across the state next year. Secondly, in May, we received a very valuable bequeath from the estate of Jo Zachis, a local businesswoman. These prints from Gordon Parks really reflect his passion as an artist. We mostly know of him as a documentary photographer for Life magazine and other places, but for the last 30, 40 years of his life, he considered himself an artist, a painter. And these pieces that we have are quite large, and they're part of a 60-piece collection entitled Images from the Soul. And his documentary photography work, his journalism, he considered his vocation. But these images came from inside him. That's why I call them Images from the Soul. Very few people know about these pieces. They're very valuable. We have 7 of them, and they're signed. So we're particularly thrilled to have those. And lastly, we're involved in a partnership with a local TV station. This February, we're going to be airing 12 Black history pieces. And many of the pieces have to do with African American history that very few people know about. For example, very few people know about the life and work of Art Fletcher. Art Fletcher was a 6'4" football player for the Los Angeles Rams. He was the Baltimore Colts' first player, but he was also the president of the Kansas Republican Party. He was a trailblazer among Black Republicans. He was helped into that position by the great Alf Landon. He also coined the term that we might all be familiar with from the United Negro College Fund, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. That was coined by a man with Kansas roots. He also worked for 4 presidents. He worked for President Nixon, he worked for President Ford, and he also worked for President Bush, and just a very noteworthy person. We're also going to do a story about President Eisenhower. Very few people know about President Eisenhower's civil rights work. As a matter of policy, as president, he would not appoint segregationists to the federal bench. So the justice that he appointed in Alabama, for example, was the justice who ruled in favor of Rosa Parks and the Montgomery Improvement Association. Kansas had a hand in the bus boycott. Not just that, but he lifted the injunction that allowed the voting rights march from Selma to Montgomery. He also desegregated Washington, D.C. He sent troops into Little Rock to enforce the Brown decision. So that was part of my support for renaming our airport after President Eisenhower. That's just one part of his legacy that was important, but very few people know about that. And lastly, there's a local lady named Marie Gillespie who has devoted maybe the last year to trying to prove that Buffalo Soldiers did actually exist here in Wichita. The prevailing wisdom is that they did not exist. This lady seems to have proven that they did exist near where I went to high school, North High. There was a camp there at 13th and Waco. I don't think it was 13th and Waco then, but there was a camp there. And with that, I just want to thank you again for your support. This is a very important endeavor, as I said. Our ability to be good citizens really turns on our knowledge of history, and we appreciate your investment. Thank you.
Well, Mark, thanks for that report. And you've educated me quite a bit here in those few remarks, the things that I didn't know, and I appreciate that. But I think that indicates the value of the museum to our community. One of the reasons it's valuable.
Yes, sir.
But we have a comment from Commissioner Dennis.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick, for being here today. I sincerely appreciate it. I appreciate the feedback on the museum, especially the work that you have done over at the African American Museum right behind us. First, I want to urge everyone to go over and tour it. Mr. McCormick gave me a nice tour of the facility. Take a look at that artwork, one-of-a-kind artwork by Gordon Parks that they've got over there. Over $1 million worth of art down in the basement in the storeroom. Take a look at the history here. You know, the first touchdown ever scored in a Super Bowl was scored by someone that graduated from North High School here, an African-American. We've had women's NBA stars, NFL stars, you name it. And you can find out about it. Just tour the African American Museum one time. Help support that organization. So I want to thank you again. I'd like to make a motion that we receive and file.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Chairman Unruh.
Aye. Mark, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item D, 2017 Exploration Place Update to the Board of County Commissioners.
Good morning, Jan Luth, President of Exploration Place, and I'm happy to be here today, and I see you're getting little goodies from us. So those, I had to find out what they're called. They're called fidget spinners, and you guys deal with just a little stress sitting up there, so maybe this is something you can play with while you're dealing with all these things. I'll wait till you finish passing those out.
So these little spinners
Thank you.
have the opportunity to distract folks like Commissioner Ranzau.
I'll give you mine too.
Well, I'm happy to be here for the annual report from Exploration Place, and I'm here with our board chair, John Mosley. And we're thrilled to share with you some, really good stuff that's going on. We had a fantastic 2017. Up here on the screen, you can see some of our fast facts that I just wanted to share with you. We reached over 256,000 people this year. That's an 11% increase over the prior year. We are at over 4,200 memberships right now, which is a 19% increase over where we were last year. We have 2 traveling exhibits in 2017, Discover the Ice Age and Hall of Heroes. And a number that we're incredibly proud of is that we served over 70,000 children in organized educational programs this past year. That means that they were touched by one of our educators in some sort of a program or experience with us. That's both on-site and off-site, and that's a 31% increase over the prior year. We had a 30% increase in registrations for summer camp for the summer of 2017. It's just growing and growing. In fact, last year we actually gave out our boardroom for 2 weeks to summer camps. We had so many people registering for them, and we didn't have spaces to put them. And you may recall in September we had a pretty amazing event, or it was August, I think, the pretty amazing event with the ECLIPSE. And we did a free event for the community all over our property, and we had somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 people. So pretty cool facts for the year. a couple of the highlights. In April, we did a complete reopening of our Kansas pavilion, named Explore Kansas. It's about a 6,100 square foot space. We'd been working on it for about 18 months incrementally to be able to get this complete renovation done. All about Kansas geography, all privately funded, and lots and lots of content partners. We had about 25 different content experts helping us from across the state. And of course, we just launched Design, Build, Fly. It opened in December to the public. We've had spectacular responses for this exhibit. The entire exhibit, and I know I've talked about this many times, a very unusual focus for a Science Center exhibit. We are not talking about the physics of flight. We are talking about advanced manufacturing and engineering in order to build aircraft. So it has a direct connection to workforce development. We had over 100 individual donors. Of course, Spirit AeroSystems that we were talking about earlier today was our presenting sponsor, and many, many other aviation companies and supply chain companies also participated and invested in this exhibit. But the exhibit's just a starting point for us. You know, a lot of people think, oh, you opened the exhibit, you must be done, when in fact we're just beginning. So we have launched a major volunteer program to be able to get lots and lots of retirees from the aviation industry to be volunteers with us at Exploration Place, working in the galleries with children. We have a membership campaign that will be launching in January for quite a few months that's tied in with a lot of our investors in the exhibit. And we've started doing our facility rentals a little bit differently. We've actually started holding facility rentals in the gallery. We've had 5 of them in the last 2 weeks in the gallery, and it's just been fabulous, and we look to do a lot more of that. We've recrafted how we're doing school field trips. It will now be a 4-hour directed learning experience completely focused on the aviation exhibit. And we are beginning a new evening program, Aviation is Awesome Family Nights. We'll be doing 10 of those between January and April. They are with the families, a focus for middle school and high school. I'm sure the younger elementary school-age siblings will come as well, but there'll be people from the industry participating in panels and discussions. So again, a workforce development focus is really at the heart of that particular event. It's time to upend our visitor experience, and the new aviation gallery has really been the springboard for that. We've got new science shows coming online, new gallery programs. We've also enhanced our creator space, which is adjacent to Design, Build, Fly. That's our family-friendly maker space. And we have a whole bunch of different activities you can do in there now, and they're all tied to the aviation industry, including riveting. Everybody told me we can't have kids rivet. We're having kids rivet, and it's working. So traveling exhibits for 2018 still an important part of our business plan. We've got 3 great ones planned. In January, we're opening Rescue. Lots of community partners, including many from Sedgwick County with the fire department and EMS. They're helping out with it. This summer, we expect to be amazing with a shark exhibit. And then in the fall, we have Toytopia, where we're partnering with the Sedgwick County Historical Museum. So what's next also in 2018? Save that date for Death by Chocolate. It's coming really soon, February 24th. I'm sure it'll be just fabulous as it has been other years, so I hope you'll be able to attend. Our next permanent gallery that we're going to focus on is Heads Up Health. That will be in the Grand Hall, and 2018 is going to see a big focus on fundraising and the starting the exhibit plans for that gallery. It'll probably open in a couple of years. Starting Friday, we will be doing an upgrade to our Digital Dome Theater. It's long overdue, and it's going to happen, and the new equipment will be in by next week, by the end of next week. So with our big holiday rush, they'll be able to see our new Dome film fighter pilots, and it'll be with all the new equipment. I think it'll be stunning visuals. The Explorer Room is a odd-shaped room that's kind of behind the dome, and we use it for all kinds of different things, but we have a great plan in place this year to be able to do some upgrades to it, so it will be able to function very effectively as 2 additional classrooms for us, because you see we have growing, just never-ending growth with our education programs, and we need space to be able to accommodate those. River Flicks is a new event we're going to try in May. 3 Friday nights in a row, we're going to show films right on the building, outside, free for the public. So it should be a lot of fun. The films have already been selected, and they're all tied in with the opening of the shark exhibit. So yes, Jaws will be coming on the building. And Middle School Madness, we had a local donor who wanted us to stretch and said, what do you want to try? What do you want to do differently? And so we said we wanted to try to open up the museum at night for middle school families. It's been done in a few other places around the country very successfully. We're working in partnership with USD 259. And in fact, there'll be big announcements in January about it, but there'll be 3 nights this spring, and we expect about 1,000 people a night. So as you can tell, there's a tremendous amount going on. We've had a really great success in 2017. We're looking forward to a marvelous 2018. But the reality is we really can only do that thanks to the partnership and support we have from Sedgwick County, because with the support you provide us for our operational dollars, it enables us to raise money for new products and new development with the institution, and enables us to provide more and more services for our community. So thank you again for voting in favor of a 5-year funding agreement last month. We're very grateful for that, and it's just making all the difference for our organization. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you, Jan. That's an exciting report. A lot of good things happen, a lot of growth, and I guess I could say that in speaking with different individuals, whether it's board members or volunteers or regular citizens like me, just get plenty of positive comment about your leadership and the way that the center has grown so much in the last few years. So thanks for your leadership, and this report you've given us is, well, it's exciting. So.
Well, thank you, but I will always say it takes a village. We have an amazing staff, we have a fantastic board, and fantastic community support, so it's the whole package. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you've got a great team. So we have a comment from Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to commend you and the others there at the Exploration Place for a few things, but first of all, let me mention I am on the board, and I like serving on that, and appreciate the good folks there on the board. They do a tremendous job. But I was able to visit the Design, Build, Fly exhibit just the other day, and I'll tell you, you had to peel me away. One thing I really like, Spirit was just here, and we're talking about trying to find, people to fill 1,000 jobs. Well, it starts with people in our youngest generation, if you will, coming up and getting an interest in aviation jobs. And one thing I like about the Design, Build, Fly exhibit is it's fun, and it's educational. The videos are tremendous. Some of the things I saw over there, you can fly a drone, you can actually fly an airplane, at least the instrumentation of that. You can examine an airplane inside and out. You can touch it. You can basically get as close to it as you want to. You can even see how the toilet works if you want to. Not the way you think, but they have a way to do that. Trust me. The videos are great. You can, as she said, you can also rivet, you can paint, you can inspect. You see how they find cracks on skins of the airplane. You can actually sit in an airplane, a large commercial jet, and watch videos if you like. And videos are very educational as well. So it is a lot of fun over there. I think you've done a tremendous job. Whoever designed all that, they did a great job. And out of all things at the Exploration Place, to me, this is the jewel. I like lots of the things at Exploration Place, but this is the one thing I think that's the best, in my opinion. So it's going to hopefully bring kids in and to start thinking about engineering and manufacturing of aircraft. I think it's very important to our community. So anyway, I am impressed with the 11% increase in attendance. I think that's tremendous as well. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion we receive and file. I just want to give my thanks to all the folks at the Exploration Place.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And we have a second from Commissioner O'Donnell. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, call a vote.
Commissioner Dennis?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Chairman Unruh?
Aye. Jan, thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next item.
Item E, increased charges for services by the Metropolitan Area Planning Department.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Scott Knable with the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. The item before you today is a request to adopt an implementing resolution for the 2018 adopted budget. That budget that you passed in August includes increased budgeted revenue from charges for services of approximately 20% for the department. The City Council adopted an ordinance implementing the city's share of these increased charges on November 21st, and planning staff is recommending that the Board of County Commissioners adopt the same level of charges for services as the City of Wichita. Presently, I think some of you may be aware, the charges for services for properties that are in the unincorporated area of Sedgwick County are 15% lower than the charges for properties within the City of Wichita. That's been the case for about the past 3 years. The recommendation is that the county increase the charges to the same level as the city, which would mean increasing the charges by 15% to make up the difference between the city and the county charges as they were prior to the county's or City Council's action in November, and then adopting a 20% increase above that level, which would result in an approximate 35+% increase in charges for services. There's a table attached to your agenda report that shows what each of those charges would be. They vary. Some of the charges we have modified to try to match the level of staff effort and resources that are required to process that particular case type, and so that's why various cases have different rates. That's intended to match the cost of providing that service. Speaking of cost, the estimated total cost of providing all of the services to process these development applications in 2018 will be a little over $660,000. If the revenue or if the rate increases that are proposed are approved, we anticipate that it will generate about $256,000 in revenue, which means the cost recovery will be approximately 39%. We also, the cost recovery, I think, is an important aspect. What we look at is trying to provide a cost recovery where the cost that is borne by the citizens is commensurate with the level of direct benefit that they receive. In the case of zoning and subdivision fees, the individual property owner who is making the request for the zoning change or the subdivision or both does receive some monetary benefit from those actions, typically are able to develop the property at a more profitable level than they would without the approval of those changes. There is, in our opinion, a community benefit as well to reviewing these applications. The zoning and subdivision decisions are based on implementation of community plans like the comprehensive plan and all of its elements. And the reasoning behind the regulations is to ensure that when development occurs, it is consistent with those community plans. Having professional staff make those reviews, make recommendations to you about decisions that implement those plans is a general public benefit, and so we think there is a reason to provide general public support that would come from the county and city's general fund for these services. And as I mentioned previously, in 2018, that split would be approximately 60% from the public and 40% from the individual benefiting property owner. We also, when we do these rate increases, which the last one we did was 4 years ago, we look at a set of peer communities, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Kansas City, and Omaha, to see that we are within range. One of the statutory requirements of the charges for fees for services is that they be reasonable. And one of the reasonable tests is are we charging a fee that is similar to peer communities? And in this case, of those four peer communities, the proposed changes are, in most cases, the lowest or the next to the lowest charge for the type of services that we are providing the charge for. If this resolution is adopted today, we estimate that the total additional revenue in 2018 that would be generated would be about $42,000 between the city and the county, with approximately $6,000, maybe $7,000 of that coming from property owners in the unincorporated area. The recommended action is to adopt the resolution that would enact the increases in charges for services. We've provided a couple of options, alternatives, to direct staff to come back with a different proposal for fees that continue to be 15% less than what the city charges, or to just not approve the increased charges. With that, I'll stand for questions.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Commissioners, any comment or questions? We've had an opportunity to review this before the meeting. Commissioner Ranzau.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been doing some research on this. I'm not going to be supportive of this today. I would encourage us, at the very least, to table this. I think we need to look at this in context. First of all, I mean, we just gave away $790,000 a year to one company, and now we're going to increase the cost of doing business for everybody else, 35%. Now, if you look at the number of cases and overall, and I'm going by 2016 numbers because that's the numbers that we have, and I appreciate the information you were able to give me yesterday. There are 531 cases done by the current plans division, a variety of types of cases. 531, 43 of them were in the county, so that's about 8%. Now keep in mind though that the county pays 50% of that cost, but we only have 8% of the business. If you do it on a per item basis, the total cost of current plans for next year is $662,000. If we had 530 cases, that's about $1,250 each is the cost. So if we did 43 cases, again, that should cost us about $53,750, but we're actually paying $200,000. I think there's some issues there. I've checked in this previously in years past. I prefer to reduce our rates, but and reevaluate how we're doing these, or assessing the cost of this between the city and the county. Because there again, we're getting we have 8% of the cases, but we're paying 50% of the cost in our jurisdiction. And of course, we don't pay 50% of the cost for any other cities in our, Mays or Valley Center or Goddard or Hayesville, Derby. They have their own. We don't subsidize them to the tune of 50%. So we each have our jurisdictions, and I think we need to reevaluate this and take a look, kind of keep this in context. So that's why this concerns me. So I will be voting no today.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any other comment or question? Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just curious on the numbers on the front page of the backup material. The $662,000, is that for Wichita and Sedgwick County together?
Yes, it is.
And the 256,
yes, it is. It's a total department. That's correct.
That's the recovery cost. That's the 39% is the 256.
That's correct.
And that's for city and county together.
Yes, sir.
So 39% of the cost of these services is covered by these fees.
That's correct.
Are these 5.5 FTE, are they solely dedicated to working these issues that have been presented, these types of permits and permits and things that are associated with these permits? Are they fully employed by this activity, or do they do other things as well?
Well, our estimate of the staff resources that are assigned to processing these cases is equivalent to 5.5 people. We have 13 people in our department, and all 13 people work on everything we do. We don't have the luxury of assigning any individual to just a single task. Everybody has to work across our entire department on all of our functions. And we do staff analysis on the amount of time it takes to process certain cases to come up with these estimates of staff time that are associated with certain functions like the processing of development applications.
So the $662,000 figure, is that covering the 13 or is that covering the 5.5?
That's covering the 5.5 equivalent. I didn't bring it up here with me, but we assign a certain percentage of each staff person to this function based on their role in providing that service.
I would say I think some of the comments just made by a previous commissioner I think are compelling. And yeah, I think actually looking at the peer cities, I think across the board Omaha is lower. And the other three cities that are shown here, again, they have NA by them. Can you please explain how they cover those aspects? Because NA to me means like they're not charging for that.
Yeah, and the table does have a lot of not applicable statements, and it's primarily because we're trying to just compare apples to apples. Our department, in comparison, particularly with the departments in Oklahoma, and this primarily has to do with statutory authority in Oklahoma related to their ability to provide administrative reviews of certain functions. Our department provides a significantly higher level of opportunity for approvals of development applications by administrative staff as opposed to going through a public hearing that would receive approval by a planning commission and the governing body. And so most of the things that we do administratively aren't comparable to the Tulsa and Oklahoma City because they don't have the authority to do those things. And so to receive a similar type of approval in those communities, applicants have to go through a public hearing process for which those communities charge a higher fee because if you're doing a public hearing, multi-step public hearing process, the cost of processing that is significantly higher. And we charge higher for those types of services as well.
Thank you for your answers. Question for Commissioner Ranzau. So make sure I understand this correctly. The county's share with the fee increase would be about $53,000. And currently, I'd like to ask you, can you please repeat what our current fee amount is for those same 8% currently? I'd like to have that number again, please.
Is that a question for Commissioner Ranzau?
It is, if you okay.
What I'm saying is, in 2018, we're going to pay about $203,000 of this out of our general fund.
That's correct. Our estimate is that depending upon the caseload, the allocation of cost from the total general fund contribution from the county to these 5.5 positions and their overhead and other costs would be about $200,000.
So what I did was I looked at the number from 2016, looked at the overall total number of cases, the total cost that it would, the $600 and some $1,000, that's how much it would cost us to do it next year. Divided it out, that's a per unit cost. Then took that times 43, assuming we had the same numbers, then that should have been $53,000 if we were paying by unit, I guess. But we're going to pay $200,000.
Did you calculate it if the fee increase doesn't pass? What would be the 43 applications to the county? What would be the total cost of that without the fee increase? Do you know that number? It would be something.
No, because I was figuring the total cost to do the case, which would have included fees and our subsidy out of the general fund.
Okay.
So what I'm just trying to show is there seems to be an inequity there.
Okay. I think I understand that. I guess what I'm saying is to the county with the fee increase, status quo versus the fee increase, the difference on county folks, if you broke it down the way you just said, is like $7,000 or $8,000 difference between the two total. In other words, for the 43 applicants, there's about a difference of about $7,000 total. If I'm saying that right, I'm not sure that makes sense or not, but there's about $7,000 total between status quo versus the fee increase. Is that correct, roughly?
You mean the amount of fee that they would pay?
Yes.
I think that's
yes, that's accurate.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. So for $7,000, and the total budget for this is $662,000 right now. We're basically talking about a $7,000 or $8,000 fee increase that would be borne by the county residents if you broke it out the way Commissioner Ranzau suggested. So I guess right now I'm not sure that I can support this at this time. I don't have enough data yet, I think, to think this is the only way to solve this. I think fee increase, we have to be very cautious and do that kind of as a last resort. We should look for other solutions to that first. And right now, I think the way this is broken down, I think we may have some other options available. So I think right now I'm not going to support this at this time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Chairman. So my question would be, WABA's been involved in this. Is that correct from our conversations in the past?
We have shared this information with Wes Gallion at WABA. That's correct.
And he seems to be supportive of it.
Yes,
Thinks
sir.
his membership supports it. So mainly, do we see the value in consistency between the city of Wichita and Sedgwick County having the same fee schedule?
Well, certainly if the intention is to, as we have operated under for a number of years, to have there be a commensurate cost recovery to the individual that benefits. From a cost standpoint, there is no difference in processing a county case versus a city case. They cost the same in terms of staff resources and can potentially cost more because the public notification area under state statute is 5 times greater for a county case than it is for a city case. Now, most of the properties in the county are larger, so there could, even in a 5 times greater area, be similar or even smaller number of properties. But certainly the staff time and other resources that we process the cases exactly the same. And so having a reduction in cost for the county, that's not really supported by having it be tied to some sort of reduction in fee is not really tied to a reduction in cost, if you will. The lower fee is just a policy choice.
Sure. And one last question, Scott. The city of Wichita adopted this when?
Yeah, on November 21st.
Okay, November 21st. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your total costs that you've got to operate over there, it's pretty fixed, isn't it?
Yes, sir. In terms of our operations, about 91% of our cost is in salary and benefits. So our ability to, and all of our 13 staff are full-time permanent employees.
And the way we recover that cost is either from our general fund and a combination of fees.
That's correct. In terms of our budget, the way the interlocal agreement has established, the city and county agree on an overall budget. We then subtract the estimated revenue from charges for services, and then the city and county split the remainder by 50%.
Okay. So if we reduced our fees to zero, we'd pick it up 100% from the general fund, right?
Well, actually, the city and the county would split that difference from the general fund by 50%.
But if we raise the fees, what we're doing is recovering some of the cost of doing business from the people that are actually doing business rather than from the citizens as a whole.
That's correct. And in fact, the reason in the 2018 budget that the city and the county adopted has higher charges for services is because of the level of general fund support that would have been required without this was higher than what either governing body was willing to support.
In my mind, charging the people that are actually asking for the services makes more sense than saying that we're going to charge all the citizens in Sedgwick County this, and they're not receiving those benefits.
The principle that we're operating under is trying to find that right balance between it's being paid directly by the people benefiting and the public at large.
Very good. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ranzo.
Yeah, let me clarify a few things. You know, the people that are paying these fees are being forced to pay these fees. It's not for their benefit; it's for the benefit of the general public. That's why general funds go to pay for some of this, is because presumably we're doing this to help protect them. Because there's no homeowner or builder who's going to ask to pay a fee if they don't have to. And I'm not just saying that I don't want to increase the cost of doing business out in unincorporated area. I'm saying we pay too much as it is into this partnership. Okay, we have 8% of the cases, but we're paying 50% of the cost that's not covered by fees. Okay, there's a problem there. Okay. And we put $600,000, I think, all told. I mean, we made some progress a few years ago, but now we've reversed that progress, and so we need to take a look at this. We're going to have to find a way to cut $790,000 out of our budget coming pretty soon, and here, you know, we are subsidizing the city's jurisdiction, unlike we do with any other city. That's the point that I'm making. And so, and this fee increase is just a part of the overall big picture, and I think we need to take that into consideration, because what I'm saying is the general public that you're talking about is already overpaying for these services out of our general fund. So we're probably not going to solve that issue today, and I don't know if I need to have some individual conversation to help make it more. Maybe I'm not doing a good job. I can show you the numbers of what I'm looking at. And I also think it's important to note that, I mean, WABA is just one organization. Okay, there's a lot of people that will be affected by this that aren't represented by WABA. And I can assure you not everyone in WABA supports increase the cost of doing business. So that shouldn't be the gold standard by which we use to make our decision. And I certainly don't do that. But I think this is an issue we need to look at going forward, because it's a significant cost. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. As I'm considering this issue, it seems to me that it's logical and reasonable that the fee structure should be the same, whether it's within the city limits or whether it's in the county area. It seems like I don't understand a rationale where we'd have different fee structures, as has been. So I think it should be same fees for both county and city. Secondly, I agree with the comment made by Commissioner Dennis that those folks making applications should bear some cost for going through this process. We're not charging them everything that it costs to do that. I mean, that's why there's a balance that we split with the city. So I think as a, quote, user fee, I think that's also rational and sensible way to do business. And thirdly, I think that if we're in a partnership with the city of Wichita, then the agreement that's been this way is one where we split the overall costs of the planning department. And it was an initiative taken several years ago because the primary users of it wanted us to have a combined metropolitan area building department. And so we've gone that way. I think that the users and citizens in general want city and county to work together and get along. This is the agreement that was crafted. I don't think it's unreasonable, and so for those reasons, I'm going to be supportive of moving forward with the staff recommendation. But there are more folks here who want to speak, and I think first was Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Scott, a couple of the comments that Commissioner Ranzow made were about the cost and the fees and who's paying for them. So my question would be, raising these fees, wouldn't that offset the general public paying into this department so that people that are utilizing this fee structure, this new one, are going to be paying the brunt of this, and the general public tax dollars won't be going to fund this department?
Well, certainly the intention of the fees is to have the applicant for a zoning or subdivision case pay a portion of the cost. They actually don't pay a majority. At this point, if this proposal is recommended, or as recommended is approved, they would pay about 39% of that cost, and the other 61% would be funded by the city and county general fund.
So it's at least bringing it to more of an equilibrium where we're going to have people that are utilizing the service pay for most of it. This is similar to the discussion we had earlier this year regarding credit card fees. If the general public should pay that, or just people that are paying their taxes with a credit card, who's going to pay those fees? So I think it's very reasonable. I don't like raising fees or taxes or any costs. However, looking at this, it seems reasonable. And having a streamlined process, having consistency so that builders, many of our builders build in both the city and in unincorporated county area. I think that it just makes a lot of common sense to have one fee schedule so that everyone knows what the cost of doing business will be anywhere within Sedgwick County. So I agree with Commissioner Unruh. That is what this department was designed to do, was to bring a streamlined, cohesive process between the city of Wichita and Sedgwick County. I was on the Wichita City Council when we did this, and the phenomenal Tom Stoles was our guy that we picked to run that joint department. so that all of this would be easier. So anyway, I appreciate the work you put into this process. So thank you.
And I might just clarify, I mean, the Metropolitan Area Building and Construction Department that
It's
was
different.
recently combined
Right.
is yet another example. The Metropolitan Area Planning Department actually was combined in 1959 and has
Right.
been operating this way since.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think Commissioner Dennis was next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. I do understand Commissioner Ranzau's concern about the 8% and so forth, but that's really not our discussion today. Our discussion is on the fees. It's not on the ratio of what services that we're getting from one department or from one government agency or the other. So if that is his issue, that's probably something that we need to bring up if the majority of the commission is interested in approaching that, but that's really not what our discussion is today. Our discussion is on these fees and whether the people that are bearing the brunt of the requests are the ones that should shoulder more of the responsibility or the citizens as a whole. So I will be supportive of the motion. Well, we don't have a motion, but I'll be supportive of the proposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I think Commissioner Howell was next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to clarify once again, so if Commissioner Ranza or if Director can answer this, the year that was referenced a minute ago, how many applicants do we have that year total?
That was in 2016, it was 43 applications in the unincorporated area.
Okay, how many in the city that year?
Out of 531 total applications.
So that was total, it was 531. And so if I subtract that out, at least 488 for the city. Okay? And the total, and again, that would, again, with the proposal, we still only recover 39% of the dollars with
That's correct.
with the fee increase.
Yes.
How much are we recovering right now total?
32%.
32%.
Without the fee increase, it was the cost recovery is 32%.
So I see a couple of points that make sense to me. If you really wanted to shift the full burden to the applicants, I understand that point that some of the colleagues here are making. I think that there's an argument to be made that the applicants shouldn't use general fund money for their activity. They should pay for the government that they use, and I get that. But if you wanted to do that, then 488 times, again, Commissioner Ranzau, you said 1250 was the average cost. Is that the number you used?
That would be the average cost based on next year's numbers if we had the same number of cases.
Okay, so just for example, 488 times 1250, that means the people from the city would pay $610,000. That would be them shouldering the full. Actually, that's just the 1250, and the full burden of that. That's 32% or 39%. I'm not sure which number that is, but that's not the full cost. Actually, maybe that is.
No, that is
the full cost. Mm-hmm. So people from the city would pay $610,000. And that would be no general fund money. That would mean they pay the full fee. That would be following that line of reasoning. In other words, the people who are using government would pay for the government that they use. That would be fair. There'd be no general fund money into this at all. And you could increase those fees to make it where each applicant would pay their share of government. But the problem I see with this is the 50-50 split. I think that Commissioner Ranzau has made a good point. I agree that the applicants should cover the cost of government. I think that's a great point. But the agreement where we pay 50% of the uncovered cost from the county doesn't make sense to me. I can't support that part of this. If the proposal was that we would simply increase these fees and it would be 100% paid for by the applicant, that makes sense to me, and that I might be able to support. But the proposal we would pay 50% of the uncovered cost, to me, that is really the problem in my opinion. By the way, there's another issue that's tangential to this, but we've just talked recently about animal shelter fees, and there's a proposal. I think it's not coming at us right now, but there's been discussion about how we would pay different fees from the county versus what people from the city would pay. In fact, how they would pay would be different. So the idea that there should be simplicity and congruency and commonality between city and county residents on how they pay and what they pay, that ship has already sailed. That's not happening in other proposals. And so I don't think we have to do this today. I think that this proposal right now is flawed. To the argument that the applicants should pay their share of government, I get that. But that's not what this does. this shifts the burden to Sedgwick County residents unfairly, and I don't think that's right, so I can't support it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell. I was going to make a comment. Commissioner Renzo.
Yeah, I want to address some of the comments by Commissioner O'Donnell just to make sure. For one of them, the consolidation issue, I mean, that was actually a different department. There's confusion there.
Well, the Metropolitan Area Planning Department has been a joint city-county department since 1959. The current agreement that we're operating under was recently amended to provide for the structure that was included in the 2018 budget, where, as I described previously, the city and the county agreed on what the overall budget of the department would be. We subtracted out the estimated fee revenue from that and then divided that by 2, and that was each agency's agreed upon general fund contribution to our operation.
I understand all that, but the recent consolidation was a different department. That was MABC.
That's correct. That was the Metropolitan Area Building and Construction.
Now, as far as having the same fee schedule everywhere throughout the county, I mean, will all the cities throughout the county have the same fee schedule?
No, sir.
No.
This is just Wichita and Sedgwick County.
This doesn't really establish uniformity throughout the county. My last comment is this. Okay, so by doing this, we're going to shift a little bit of the cost away from the general fund. I think you said to the tune about $67,000
for the county. That's correct. And I mean, that would be the amount of additional revenue that would be raised from applicants in the unincorporated areas, roughly 6,000 to 7,000. It's tough to estimate because the number of cases in a given year and type varies pretty significantly.
I got you. So $6,000 to $7,000 is what we're talking about here. By looking at the issue that I'm talking about, we could save those very same people $150,000. That's the point. We're doing something here, increasing the cost of doing business. That's going to, help the general fund $6,000 to $7,000. But I'm talking $150,000. I think there's more bang for the buck there if you're really concerned about the cost that's been shifted to the general fund and the taxpayers. That's where we should be focusing our interest, our efforts. So, thank you.
I don't see anyone else asking to speak. I would make the point in this discussion that everyone that has a home or whatever, Wichita or Sedgwick County, they're all Sedgwick County citizens. And I think it's reasonable that these fee schedules should be similar across our area of jurisdiction. And I believe that the collaboration we have with the city of Wichita is a collaboration that has been working, and that I believe our citizens want us to collaborate and get along. And so this is an example of how we can do it, and we're kind of as Commissioner Dennis has said, we're kind of discussing an aspect of the problem that's not before us. But I know that this fee schedule is what is contemplated in our 2018 budget. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, this is simply an implementation resolution of an action that this commission has already taken.
So we made other decisions predicated on this. So I'm still going to be supportive of it, and I don't think we have a motion right now. So I would move that we approve the increased charges for services and adopt a resolution regarding. And we have a second from Commissioner Dennis. Commissioners, is there any other comment? Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to show appreciation to staff. I know this has been a long time to develop all of this, and I do appreciate staff bringing it to us. The first time I saw this was just a couple of days ago during a briefing in my office. I think it may have been actually, you said Wichita adopted this last month, if I understand that correctly.
That's correct, yes.
So, you know, this is a mature proposal. I guess we're the last stop, but I don't know that we had any input, from, say, a staff meeting or whatever, to know that this was coming and be able to influence the thought that was put into developing this. But again, I not that I wouldn't support some kind of a change here, but I don't think this is the right way to break this down. And so I think that I can understand I can understand why the city of Wichita would support this, because I think it reduces. Basically, I think it benefits people from Wichita at a cost to the unincorporated taxpayers, and so I understand why they would support this, but I just don't think this is quite fair the way this is broken down. And again, I do want to show appreciation to the staff. I know you all do a great job and have spent a lot of time on this, and so please take my thankfulness to you all for doing your very best. I just think we should have had a little more input on the front end of this, and unfortunately it's not broken down, I think, the way that I can support it today. But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion and a second before us and had lots of discussion. This is an issue that perhaps we should ask if there's anybody from the public who wants to make a comment. Don't see anyone rising to speak and see no other commissioner asking to speak. So, Madam Clerk, would you call the vote, please?
Commissioner Dennis?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau?
No.
Commissioner Howell?
No.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Chairman Unruh?
Aye. Thank you, Scott. And before we call the next item, I'd want to recognize former County Commissioner Carl Peterjohn's entered the room. Welcome to our meeting. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item F, 2017 Public Works Road and Bridge Show.
This is what we've all been waiting for.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, David Spears, Assistant County Manager for Public Works, Facilities Maintenance, and Project Services. I'd like to report to you today on the projects that were constructed in the year 2017, including roads, bridges, and preventive maintenance. This year we completed 22.5 miles of chip seal with our county forces. In addition to these projects, the 2017 construction program can be summarized as follows. 8 miles of roads were treated with hot mix recycling. 1 mile of super seal was constructed. 5.3 total miles of asphalt rejuvenation was constructed. We also did 87.5 total miles of NovaChip, 5.75 total miles of high density seal, and 9.75 total miles of Bondtech. 3 bridges were constructed by contract. 5 bridges were constructed by our crews. Numerous bridge repairs were made throughout the county. 76.75 miles of rock shoulders were constructed this year. That's over and above the 40 miles that we usually do. All of the projects are in accordance with Sedgwick County's capital improvement program. In total, improvements were made to 117 miles of the 550 miles of paved road that Sedgwick County is responsible for. And that means that 21% of the county's road system was improved in 2017. And let me remind you that infrastructure is the mother's milk of economic development. I knew you'd want to hear that again.
I did want to hear it, and
First
I
time.
believe it.
First time.
Okay. All right, now we're ready to view the 2017 Public Works Road and Bridge Show. I want to thank Mata Roman and Gina Morgan for their help on the PowerPoint. This is a map of everything we did in the county this year. It's the same as that map over there for everybody to look at throughout the presentation if you need to. This was a project we did in conjunction with Derby and Rockford Township. This is a pretty bad road on 87th Street South between Rock and Webb. That's a before picture, of course. It's another before picture. This pretty dramatic improvement that you'll see. And there's the final result, done with what we call super seal, and then that's a NovaChip cap on the top of that. Another picture after. Our portion was $313,721. Derby was about $239,000, and Rockford Township $34,000. This is the Sedgwick County Zoo. We did the parking lots out there. We're responsible for that. This is a before picture. You can see the crack. Those cracks were sealed last year. We always try to seal the cracks a year in advance. And this is after. Conspec did this. They used to be Kansas Paving, $403,000. Crack seal sounds minor, but it's actually a major thing you have to do to protect the roads from the water getting down through the cracks. We did 99 miles. This is just an example. I'm not going to show 99 miles of crack sealing for everybody. So this is on Central, and next year we'll do a project along Central, and then you won't see that. That's just the first phase, and we put a preventive maintenance technique on top of that next year. So Pavement Pros did that at a cost of about $474,000. Asphalt rejuvenation. Here's the locations of it. Now this is a project we use on curb and gutter roads, and what it does, it mills off the top inch and recycles that and puts it back, plus adds another inch of new asphalt. This turned out really good this year. This is a before picture, 13th Street North between 127th and 159th, Commissioner Unruh's district. You can see the before pictures. That's oxidized, the color's changed. Now here's the after. We think this is a great process for curb and gutter roads. The overlay does not go above the gutter. This is down in Clearwater on Ross Avenue. This is their one of their main roads, east-west. Before picture, another before. Clearwater's very happy with how this turned out. We had some problems. There were some soft spots under this that we had to take care of, but we got it. We have great people out in the field who come up with solutions. Still Ross Avenue. This is Tracy Street. That's a north-south road over on the west side of town. You see the cracks on the before. Now this is an after picture. After again, Tracy Street in Clearwater. This is 63rd.
David, excuse me, you might make a comment now for people who are watching on why is Sedgwick County doing roads inside of a municipality?
Okay, we are responsible for what's called connecting links inside small cities that have a population under 5,000, and that's why.
Thank you. I needed to be reminded.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is 63rd Street South between Rock Road and Greenwich Road, Commissioner Howell's district. This is a before picture. Before, and this is after. Same process. This turned out really great. Next year we'll do the rest of this road. We didn't go all the way to the Butler County line. We went to around Greenwich Road. Next year we'll go from Greenwich to the Butler County line. And in total, all of that you just saw cost about $1.25 million. Okay, NovaChip, one of our favorite products. There's all the locations that we did in. NovaChip is hot mix, coarse graded asphalt, a little over a half-inch thick, put down with what's called a spray paver, which it sprays the tack coat right in front of when you're putting down the asphalt. 87.5 miles this year. Not going to show all 87.5 miles. This is 103rd Street South between Rock and Webb. This is down there by the Mulvane School. This is before. There's an after. After. There's a meridian between 71st Street South and 119th Street South. This will be down south of Hayesville. Now this road went several, had a Nova chip on it, I think 9 years ago. So we got a lot of use out of it, but there's not that much traffic on it. It makes a big difference. The amount of traffic, the type of traffic, whether it's car or truck. Of course, these are after pictures. Turned out great. Andale Road between 53rd Street North and 101st Street North, Commissioner Dennis's district, some befores. 4. After. You can see the rumble strip in the middle of the curve there. We put those down a few years ago. Had state money that helped us do several curves throughout the county. Still Andale Road. Cornell and Sons did that. This was our biggest project of the year, $4 million. This is a high-density seal, more or less like a fog seal, but it's a lot better than your normal fog seal. And we think in these cases this will hold these roads. This is up Furley. It's 135th Street West between Kellogg and Pawnee. This is Broadway up north between 101st and 125th. See the cracks were filled. There's your product. Very nice. Andale Construction, about $400,000. All right, hot in-place recycling. We do about one long stretch of this per year. This is along what they call a train of construction equipment that can't very well negotiate curves, so you put it in a long line. This is about the third project we've done with this. What they do is recycle. This is total recycling, 2 inches. They take down 2 inches and then put that same 2 inches, they put a rejuvenator oil in it and put that, lay back down that same 2 inches. Like I say, this is Greenwich all the way from 254 to the Harvey County line. Here's an after. Just took one before and one after. It's all about the same, the entire distance. Industrial did this, $566,000. I think that's 8 miles. Bondtech do this on some roads that need a little more attention. Bondtech is a 1-inch BM1 overlay. It's also put down with a spray paver. Here's Greenwich between 254 and Bel Air. This is before, after. Oliver between 53rd and 85th Street North. Now part of this we went through Keachai both ways. You can see a before. Here again, Keachai's under 5,000 population. Those are connecting links for the county responsibility. We got a nice email from the city manager of Keachai. I think he sent it to Commissioner Unruh, and you forwarded it to us, thanking us for that. They were really happy. This is 85th Street North between Hydraulic and Oliver. Same process. Did about 9 or 10 miles of this. Schilling Construction, $761,000. Rock Shoulders, like I say, we usually do 40 miles. This year we did 76 3/4. Just show you this one picture. That's what it looks like when we're finished. Not all cases are different widths of road, but it's the Rock Shoulders put on. This is a safety tip, all safety for the drop-off. In-house, county did this. Total cost, materials, labor, equipment, $300,000. Bridge projects by contract, 3. You can see 61st Street North between Oliver and Woodlawn, Meridian. This was just expansion joints and some other things done there. And the third is 295th Street West between 93rd and 101st Street North. This 61st Street North, this was an emergency project. We had, this came as a result of one of the rainstorms we had. We had people out there that night to block off the road. This is one of the pipes that was under there. You can see how it buckled up from beneath. After we got into there, we found out there was also a sewer line going through it. Now we had, this was just the emergency fix to begin with. We just went out and put some what's called flowable fill concrete on top of that so that traffic could continue. That was just the emergency fix. Then we came back later, there was another rainstorm, and we, through emergency, we put in these boxes, or had it done. So this is during construction. We also had a time-lapse photography of this project. Some of you might remember that. There's the box, completed. And there's the final project, and that's a Nova chip going over the top of it. Turned out really good for an emergency. Claver did the box, $325,000. I think we bought the box ahead of time, and it was $47,000, and then we spent $15,000 for some additional right-of-way. This is a little more complicated to explain, but we replaced the expansion joints on this bridge on Meridian over the flood control ditch. And this bridge is like 1,000 feet long, and we did this and worked on some other areas of the deck and underneath it so that we didn't have to replace the whole thing. We think we bought about 20 years on this. This bridge is like 1,000 feet long, and it's going to be very expensive to replace someday. You can see some of the work done underneath. That's all replaced. Rocker panel. That's a new expansion joint, one on each end. So in total, that cost about $1.2 million. We collected about $32,000 liquidated damages. There were some delays on the job. I wanted to tell you about that, but we're always on top of these things. We have inspectors. We have a certain number of days they have to be done in, and so we're always pressing the contractor for that. But that might seem like a lot of money, but that's certainly a lot less than if you had to replace the whole bridge, because I think you're looking at least $8 million to replace that bridge. 295th Street West between 93rd and 101st. It's before. It's after. It's a good-looking bridge. Meese Construction, $276,000. Now, bridges by county personnel. Did 5. They're in the little blue triangles. The little blue dots are where we did some maintenance on bridges this year, and I'm not showing those. Do various things. There's a list of the 5 that we did. This first one is down in Rockford Township on 103rd Street South. That's a before picture. There's another before. See how narrow the bridge is in that picture? This is an after. From above, the bridge is wider now. The road's not wider, but the bridge is. Some more pictures. You can see how we replaced it. And that cost $148,000. This is on hydraulic between 93rd and 101st, a before picture. There's the after picture. The nice thing about these precast boxes, we used to do timber for many years, and now we do a lot, mainly precast, and you can get them in, dig the hole, dig the old one out, just put the box in, and you don't have the road closed down that long to traffic. $85,000. You see the 3 pipes there, 61st between north between 183rd and 199th west. There's a replacement structure. $164,000. That price includes the price of the box, the labor, the equipment. 199th between 61st and 69th north. So about $123,000. Bridge on 183rd Street West between 111th and 119th. It's an old style guardrail on that. There's the after. $213,000. All right, stream maintenance. Thought I'd show some of this. It's been a pretty big thing this year with the flooding that we've had. You can kind of get a flavor for what we do. This is Polo Grounds, 95th and Broadway, a before picture. And this is after. You can see how we've cleaned out the creek and the banks. This is sort of a panoramic view. It's like a slot, but you can see what we did with the creek and both sides. This over at Lake Afton, there was some major erosion after one of the storms. You see a hole there. You see it better there, what's happened. Now this is our guys putting large rock down in the hole. And then this is after result looking on downstream. We did all that riprap along the side. This is Spring Creek down by Derby. We worked on this for many weeks, and I want to tell you we took out over 500 tandem dump truck loads of debris. And pictures are self-explanatory. The guys do a great job. You know, it's hard to be delicate with a bulldozer, but they do try to save what trees they can. I really appreciate that. Pretty dramatic difference. And this coming year, you know, in the budget, you have allowed us to get some more equipment and 2 more people. So we're going to be able to do more this next year. And speaking of that, there were 11 areas that we got to this year shown on this map around the county. And we spent about almost $500,000, $500,000. Now here's the backlog that we haven't done yet. And it's just hard to make a dent in it because others pop up as you do some. But I think for the first time we're going to have extra people and extra equipment next year. So hopefully we'll do a little more. Once again, here's the project map of everything we did this year. And that, I think they did. She morphed my picture there from new to old or old to new, however you want to look at it. Okay.
The last picture was a great picture, Dave.
The best.
Yeah.
Questions?
We have a comment from Commissioner Hell.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make a couple of quick comments on the 87th Street paving. That's the only mile we did this year because it was so complex. It was intended for last year, but it just carried over because of the complexity. I mean, speak to that for just a minute. I want to point out that Westar basically had to move, I think, around 70 or so utility poles, wooden utility poles on the north side of the road, and they had to move 2 large metal utility poles, very tall, on the south side of the road, and then their total cost was about $1 million. And so I would like to just commend them for their investment for that. One of those poles was really right where the road had to go, and so they really had no choice but to move that pole. But they did do that. We didn't have to sell that so much. They stepped up and did it without much convincing. So I appreciate their commitment. And also Derby, I think, I'm trying to remember the number, I think it was $238,000 I put into that project as well.
Yes.
And of course, we're going to continue this connecting paved road to paved road, in other words, Greenwich to Rock Road. And the next mile of that's already underway right now. They're moving utilities and doing crossroad culverts and stuff on the mile between Webb Road and Greenwich on 87. So what was the worst road in the county right now is one of the best roads in the county. So I want to say thank you for that. And then 103rd Street South, I've had a lot of issues in Rockford Township, and there was a lot of concerns about that particular bridge, and that looks fantastic. I just wanted to commend you on that particular bridge. In fact, I would say all of the roads in my district right now are looking pretty top notch right now. I've had a tremendous amount of good compliments from a lot of people saying you guys are doing a great job on our roads, and I totally agree. And then so I also want to say, and I don't think you mentioned this, but I would just like to commend you as well. I know that township roads are challenging, perhaps, but Sedgwick County hosted, and I think you had a lot to do with this, hosted a grader school in Rockford Township, and we fixed a couple of miles there doing that grader school. Yeah, 3 miles, and that was a tremendous investment from the county to the Rockford Township to their benefit, and also teaching how to grade roads. It was really awesome that we were able to get that done. And then I also want to point out on the stream maintenance. We just had Quad County the other day, and I asked the other counties, do they do stream maintenance? And I think we're very unique. I think Sedgwick County steps up, and we are providing stream maintenance even on private property, basically unclogging beaver dams and doing things like that. It's hard work. It takes a tremendous amount of coordination, and yet we're doing that, and we're actually increasing that this year back to what it was years ago before some cuts because of the finances of the county needed to make those cuts, I guess. But we're restoring that back to 6 people and the equipment necessary to make them be able to do their job well. So I guess I just want to commend the county for that too. I'm looking forward to seeing that backlog hopefully dwindle faster than it has been in the past. But say thank you overall. You do a great work. Your staff is fantastic, and I appreciate all the attention to detail and the good report this morning. And again, as I drive around my district, I think the county looks pretty good. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comment? Commissioner O'Donnell.
I just wanted to thank you, David. Outstanding work as always. What your office and staff is able to do on a budget that I know has been a little bit more limited the last few years is quite remarkable. And I noticed even Commissioner Unruh was talking about the roads in Clearwater, for example. I know that they are thrilled with that. It looks spectacular for those people who won't have the opportunity to get down there. But yeah, your staff did exemplary work this year, so kudos to you.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a great staff, and they're dedicated to what they do.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, David, you might just, while you've got the podium, I've had some folks in my district who thought that 13th Street from K96 to the Butler County line was a fairly good road, and they said, why did you fix that again? And this is a lot of roads that aren't so good. And I said, well, the roads that aren't so good are in the city of Wichita. And I said, these are our roads. And so you might tell me a little bit. We have a 6-year rotation. Is that?
We're on that now, starting this next year. We've been on a 5-year. So it's the way you need to take care of roads. Just like changing oil in your car so you don't have to replace your engine. I mean, you either do something over 5, 6, 7 years. If you don't, and you spend maybe $50,000, $75,000 every per mile, or you wait 20 years and spend $1 million a mile on a 2-lane road. So we think it's the biggest bang for the buck is doing preventive maintenance.
All right. Well, thank you for that explanation. And I do want to say I was glad to see that you did some projects in District 1. I mean, usually you don't do much in my district, but I'm glad you did some this time. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, the District 3 is mostly rural area. There's a lot of roads out there, a lot of bridges. And the nice thing about Public Works is that they work with the farmers because harvest is a big deal out there. We had a case this past summer where they were getting ready to do some major work off of 96 Highway. and they were able to move that around a little bit, and then they brought it in well under the amount of time that they planned on doing it. So that's just one case, but it does impact the farmers, everything that's going on out there. One of the things that really I appreciated that Public Works is doing also is that we're now including, at least in my newsletter, all the construction projects that are coming out in my district. I don't know if the other commissioners have asked for that or not, but it does help so that they can forecast what kind of projects are going on. One final comment is that my M&Ms ran out before your briefing day, so you might plan ahead on that next year.
Okay. Well, I make a motion that we receive and file. Second. Thank you. Any further comment? Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Chairman Unruh.
Aye.
Thank you.
David, thank you. Good job. Next item, please.
Item G, report of the Board of Bids and Contracts regular meeting on December 7th, 2017.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Joe Thomas, Purchasing Director. The meeting that was conducted on December 7th for the Board of Bids and Contracts, we have 5 items that we'd like to bring before you this morning. The first item is the Community Service Capacity Development, and this is for Sedgwick County Developmental Disability Organization. This recommendation is to accept both proposals and approve funding to Rainbows United in the amount of $21,950 and to Starkey Incorporated in the amount of $48,000. Item number 2 is the upgrade for computer-aided dispatch system for emergency communications. This recommendation is to accept the quote from Northrop Grumman Systems Corporation in the amount of $81,556. Item number 3 is the Westlaw ProFlex online products for the District Attorney's Office. This recommendation is to accept the quote from West Publishing Corporation, doing business as West, a Thomas Reuters business. And this is a 3-year service contract that would total $134,991.12. Item number 4 is the on-site vehicle and equipment parts operation supply services for fleet management. This recommendation is to utilize the Adams County, Colorado RFP. It's identified as BD 2017.102. And that's with Elliott Auto Supply, or also known as Factory Motor Parts, for contract pricing as listed for 2 years with 3 one-year options to renew. And our final item, item number 5, is the 2018 recommended insurance renewals for risk management. And this recommendation is to accept the insurance premium renewals as listed, and that's for an estimated total cost of $722,272. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions you may have, and I recommend approval of all 5 items.
All right, thank you, Joe. I don't I don't see anyone asking to speak right now, so Commissioners, what's the will of the board?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the recommendations of the Board of Bids and Contracts.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Chairman Unruh.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Joe, thank you. And next item, please.
Consent agenda.
Commissioners, Mike Scholes, County Manager, recommend you approve consent agenda items hotel through Tango.
Thank you. Commissioner Ranzau.
Well, I was going to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of item P.
Could you include India also?
With the exception of item P, India and Papa.
Thank you.
Yes.
Second.
Thank you. So I understand this. We're approving the consent agenda with the exception of which items?
India and Papa. I and P.
I and P. Okay. And we have a second. Commissioners, or any discussion? Madam Clerk, call a vote, please.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Chairman Unruh.
Aye. Commissioners, is there comments you want to make on, I guess we'll start with item I. Commissioner Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that we agreed to fund SCED through June, and that's what I understand that this agreement does. When I first read it, it said that we were giving $30,000 in December and another $30,000 by the end of June. But from what I understand, that does fund us through June. My concern on the entire proposal, and I'll make a motion at the end to approve item India, but my concern is same that I've always had, is that we need a strategic plan on how everything's going to be developed here in Sedgwick County. And I haven't seen that overall strategic plan and how that SCED fits in with all of our other strategic planning that we've got. So I think we've got now 6 months to figure that out, but I hope before that this comes back to us again for further funding, that we do understand what the entire strategic plan is and how that SCED fits into that entire plan. So I just wanted to make those comments on what my concerns are, but I'll make a motion that we approve consent item India.
I will second the motion. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Howell.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say I agree with the comments of Commissioner Dennis. And right now, if I understand SCED, I don't know if this is still the plan or not, but normally I think they have 3 sectors that they basically do. That's an economic development arm that does micro loans, and they help startup businesses trying to find ways to expand and grow. Second part is, of course, grant writing, and they do that even for cities, I guess. They help with them with grant writing, trying to apply for funds from the federal government or whatever. The third part is weatherization. I guess out of that, the part that I would like to support, that I think that has the greatest interest for the county commission, in my opinion, would be the economic development arm of that. But having said that, I'm not against the other 2 things. I just think that that's not the interest. We're trying to see us grow jobs, and I don't know how that does that in this case. This is our economic development budget that we're spending here, and so to me, there's a connection to the part that it does create business or helps business grow. But having said that, I do think we need to have some better reporting and hopefully reinvent what SCED does so that we see some true success in the next 6 months or so. Otherwise, we might need to revisit whether this is the best way to spend $60,000. And so I do support it for now, but I just want to give a word of caution out there. It says I really do hope that we see better performance and better reporting, and I guess a focus on the economic development arm of this is the primary reason why we're connected to SCED. But I also agree with Commissioner Dennis that this needs to be part of a strategic plan for economic development. We've got a lot of things we're doing in terms of EcoDevo, but it's not coordinated, and I think we need to be coordinated. So I would ask, I guess, that we would have those conversations and hopefully start connecting these different ideas to each other. And that's all my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Renzo.
I'll say I'll be supportive of this motion today, but going forward, something's going to have to give. We committed $790,000 a year to economic development today, or something thereabout. We don't know exactly how much, so something's going to have to give in the future. So we'll see what happens. Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, any other comment? Well, we'll look forward then to some reporting and benchmarks as we go forward, so thanks for that. Madam Clerk, call a vote.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Chairman Unruh.
Aye. And Commissioners, we have yet to deal with item P. Are there comments about that? Commissioner Ranzau.
Item P is the new performance management evaluation process and the pay plan. I appreciate all the work staff's put on this. I fully support the performance management evaluation. I think that was needed. But on the policy 4-2001, the general pay adjustment, I think should be based on performance. I've always supported pay for performance, and I think that I always will unless someone convinces me otherwise, so that's really problematic for me. And that's my concern with this particular policy as we going forward. I think we should continue with pay for performance that we had previously and implement just the performance management evaluation process. I actually think this policy here could be tweaked a little bit to do that, but until it is, I won't be supporting. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, I would make a motion or move that we approve the new performance management evaluation process and pay plan.
Second.
Thank you. Is there discussion on the motion? Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand the comments Commissioner Ranzau made, and I would say I do also prefer pay for performance. And I think this has an element in here that is that, and I guess I'd like to let this policy be implemented and see how it works. And we can always tweak policies going forward. There has been a lot of work put into this. I think that staff is excited about this. They had good positive feedback this far. So I would like to support this again today, but I guess we ought to keep our ear to the ground and continue to analyze and find out whether there's ways to improve this going forward. In terms of the amount of dollars for COLA versus pay for performance, I think that's something we can talk about every year, how that should break down. But I think right now this is a lot of work has gone into this. We've had nothing but positive feedback from, I think, virtually most of our staff that's looked at this, and I think it's time for us to support it for now, at least. But let's continue to look at that and see if we can make improvements going forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. I don't see any other commissioners asking to speak, so Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Dennis?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau?
No.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Chairman Unruh?
Aye. Thank you. Next item.
Legislative issues.
Mr. Counselor, is there anything to discuss today, or Mr. Deere? Okay. Then before we go to other, I would like to recess the regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners and call to order the Board of County Commissioners meeting as the governing body of Fire District Number 1. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Dennis?
Present.
Commissioner Ranzau?
Present.
Commissioner Howell?
Present.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Present.
Chairman Unruh?
Present. Next item, please.
Public agenda.
I have not had anyone sign up, but I see no one rising to speak, so next item.
Consideration of minutes. Item A, special fire meeting minutes of November 8th, 2017.
Move to approve the minutes from November 8th, 2017.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Dennis?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Chairman Unruh?
Aye. Next item.
Consent agenda.
Commissioners, Mike Scholes again, County Manager. Recommend you approve consent agenda items Bravo through Delta.
Thank you. Commissioner Ranzau?
I move we approve the consent agenda with the exception of item C. Or Charlie?
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Commissioner Dennis?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Chairman Unruh?
Aye. So we have item C left to deal with, and to expedite this situation, I move that we approve the new performance management evaluation process and pay plan for the fire district.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Ranzau?
I'll just restate for the record that I'll oppose this because the general pay adjustment is not performance-based, and I think it should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Commissioner Dennis?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau?
No.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Chairman Unruh?
Aye. All right, there's nothing else on the fire district agenda, so anything else, Commissioners? If not, then I will adjourn the Board of County Commissioners, setting as a governing body of Fire District 1, and call back to order the regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. And Madam Clerk, I guess we're ready for other?
Yes.
So, Commissioners, if there's anything else you would like to bring up this time, now is the time to do that. We are unusually mute today, so seeing nothing, then, Commissioners, we will be adjourned.